I'd like to introduce my mom, Peggy Jean Haack. Mom, what year were you born?
I was born in Perrottsville, Tennessee, 1932, February 2nd.
Oh, where were you born? At a hospital or at home?
I was born at home.
Do you know how you were delivered? Like, was there a.
There was a doctor present. My sister told me that they were waiting, my sister and brother were waiting outside the room. And when they heard the baby cry, they knew I was there.
Oh, that's cool. Where did you live growing up as a kid?
As a baby, of course, the first 2 years were in Harrodsville, Tennessee, where we had a lovely home. But on January 1st, my mother, we were all down at my grandparents' in Rankin, the Steele's home, for New Year's celebration. And when it came time to go home, my mother decided she wanted to drive, and my dad said, okay. So we got in the car, all three of us children were in the back seat. My mother was driving, my dad in the passenger seat, and as we were going over the bridge, before we got to the other side, something happened to the right front wheel. It got caught in something, and we fell off the bridge, which was quite high. I can't remember the height of it, but we ended up on the sandy shore. And my mother, of course, was the injured one badly. My dad had a broken nose. My brother, I don't know, he had something, and my sister had a broken nose. But I had not even a scratch, because I think that my brother and my sister cradled me so that I wouldn't get hurt.
And how old were you?
I was not quite 2.
Oh, okay.
And so from that time until I was 4, well, my mother died about 3 days later, and from that time on, for 2 years, I lived with my grandmother, Curtin, and they owned a large farm, 100 acres in Newport. And my duties there were, number one, I was a chambermaid.
And what does that mean?
That means that back in those days they had chambers. It's like a pot with a lid on it in all the bedrooms. And when somebody got up during the night, they had to urinate or whatever, there was a pot there for them to do it in. We called those chambers.
Okay.
So my job in the morning was to collect all of those and take them out, and we took them out to the well house. And well, before that, we emptied them and then took them out to the well house and cleaned them out, and then let them sit out on there was like a patio, concrete there, with the lids off so that the sun would hit them most of the day. When the sun was up high, it would hit it most of the day, and it would kind of sterilize the chamber. So then my duty at night was to take the chambers and put them back in the bedrooms. And other than that, my grandmother had me collecting eggs, feeding the chickens. I remember playing in the hayloft. I loved that. That was great. And I loved going down to the main big barn where the horses were kept. I enjoyed seeing them. They were work horses. They weren't riding horses. But my grandfather did have riding horses because I remember my cousin Billy, I can't think of his name right now, Billy Norris would come down to spend like his summer vacation with his grandpa, same grandpa, and he would go riding with these beautiful horses. They were very lovely horses. So, and then I just played around. That's about it, as a 2-year-old might do, up to 4.
And did you have any family pets or not really, just the animals on the farm?
Oh, my grandfather had beautiful dogs. One was called Jerry, and Jerry was the master of all dogs. He would go get a squirrel, he would go get anything my grandfather asked him to do. His name, I said Jerry. So, and then there were several other dogs because all farms have a number of dogs.
Okay. Who took care of you after your mom died? Was that your grandma?
Well, my grandmother had help. Aunt Bessie was her help. And my sister was there to take care of me, really. My sister did most of it.
Okay, and her name was?
Dorothy.
Dorothy. Okay.
But probably Aunt Bessie did a lot of the work for me. I mean, bathed me and stuff like that. I don't know.
Okay, and did your dad remarry after your mom died?
Not for many, 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 many years.
Okay.
But we had a lot of housekeepers, lots of housekeepers.
And what was your stepmom's name then when he remarried?
Oh, when he remarried, Ida.
Ida. Okay. Who taught you how to sew?
Well, I taught myself because there was a sewing machine. It's one of those old things you do yourself, a manual sewing machine, and then I found this, what I thought was an old an old suit or something, and I decided I was going to make myself something out of that. So I cut it up, and I can't remember what I made, whether it was a skirt or what, but anyway, my dad found out about it, and that was his best Sunday go to meeting suit, so.
So you were in trouble.
I was very much in trouble.
Okay. At what age did you start school?
I started when I was 4.
Was that kindergarten?
Yes.
Okay. And did you go out for any sports while you were in any years in high school?
Oh, no, but I did in high school, but before that in junior high, I took part in most of the athletic things that, swimming, because our school had a swimming pool. That was a middle school, and we were fortunate there was a pool to swim. And they had basketball and, many sports that I participated in. Then, when I went to high school, my father had decided to move south because my grandfather was ailing, and he thought he should go back and help my grandmother out. So we moved back to Tennessee from Michigan, and just a second. I've lost my thought here. We moved.
Well, you moved back.
Back to Tennessee from
Michigan.
I went to Dandridge High School, and it was really called Maury, Maury, Maury High School. and it was in Dandridge, Tennessee. And by the way, Dandridge was the middle name of Martha Washington.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so they didn't have too many activities. Like in Michigan, there were many, but they had a basketball team, which I loved and I wanted to join, and I did. That was about the only sport that they had in the high school.
Well, in basketball, though, I think you were like pretty, pretty good at it, I hear, and maybe became the team captain or something.
The what?
Weren't you the team captain?
No, Racine Reese was the team captain, and
Oh.
But we were very good. In our
Oh.
senior year, we were very good because we went to the state championship,
Oh, wow.
and we were knocked out by the Tennessee School of the Deaf.
Oh my gosh. That's
That was
crazy.
an unusual game, to say the least.
Mhm.
But anyway, we felt really proud that we had gotten that far.
That's
So-
awesome. Didn't you skip some grades in school?
Yes, I skipped one whole grade and a half of another.
Do you remember what grades those were?
What grades? Let's see. I think it was 6,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like it was 7.5.
Oh,
I'm not sure about that, but
okay. Then how old were you when you graduated high school?
16. I
Okay.
was just 16.
Just turned 16.
Yeah, in February, and we graduated in June.
Oh, okay. Who were your best friends in high school?
Oh, in high school, I had a bunch of friends. Zola, which I still talk to her on the phone. I haven't lately, but I need to call her right away.
Oh,
And Strange,
well, you had a very small class, didn't you?
oh, it was very small, but in fact, all the girls were my friends, but Strange, I'm trying to get her first name and I can't think of it.
Well, how many
It's-
were in your class?
I would have to get my class book out.
But like about
30 maybe?
at 30 around.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's a round figure.
Oh, okay. And you had quite a few friends, I'm sure.
Yeah, boys and girls.
Mhm.
One of my favorite boyfriends was Cecil Samples.
Cecil Samples.
Yes,
Good looking guy.
very. But I liked all of the guys. There was, God, I can't even remember his name now. That's awful.
What did you do?
Tom Carter,
Oh,
but
Tom
he
Carter.
wasn't in high school. He had already graduated. But I went out on a date a couple times with him. He was a nice guy. I can't think of the other guy's name. They were a bunch of brothers, and they lived on a farm near us. And I'm trying to think of their name, and I can't.
That's
Bugs
all
me.
right. What did you do for fun in high school? What were the fun things that people would do?
Well, to tell you the truth, in high school I was working a job, so after school I took the bus, only I didn't take it all the way home. I took it to the restaurant where it was on a lake, and they had a lot of travelers there, and so I was a waitress in the restaurant.
Oh, that's neat. I didn't know that.
And I was only, well, I was probably 15.
Mm-hmm.
And so I waited tables, washed dishes, did everything there was to do in a restaurant.
And that was your first job?
Other than babysitting and stuff, that was my first job, yeah.
What age did you leave home?
16,
You left home at 16 when you graduated?
yeah, right after.
Where did you go?
I went to my sister's in Michigan, in Birmingham, Michigan. They had a little house there. And my sister had just had twins, Patty and Connie. So that was very exciting for me. I loved my nieces.
That's neat. What types of jobs have you had over your lifetime?
Well, of course, I babysat a lot when I was probably younger than I was supposed to be sitting. Back then, there was no age limit, I don't think. But anyway, then I had the restaurant job, and that's what helped me get through school because it paid certain expenses that you have as a senior. From there, I went to the telephone company in Michigan when I moved north to be with my sister,
At what age was that?
16.
Hmm.
And they couldn't hire me because I was only 16. And my sister kind of put up a little argument there. She said, well, she's graduated from high school. She has no money for college. What can she do other than work at a restaurant? And my sister said she's too smart for that.
Aw.
So the telephone company got special permission from the state of Michigan to hire a 16-year-old as a telephone operator.
So were you like the youngest they've ever hired?
I think so, as a telephone operator anyway.
And that was a good job back then, right?
It was back
Considered.
then. And that's where I made a lot of my friends that I had while I was in Michigan. Aggie Krupitzer, Jane Hartwick. There was another one too, Annie somebody. I can't remember.
Mhm.
There was another one too. But anyway, we had a lot of fun together. We would go to the beach, the lakes together. Just do a lot of things, all of us together.
That's very cool. When did you become interested in art?
I think it was when I was in high school and I was put in charge of the school paper,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to do little drawings and things for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to use a mimeograph machine because we had to put out several copies of the school paper.
Mm-hmm.
So I put out the school paper. I did a lot of typing in the office because they didn't teach typing in that school. So I had taken typing in Michigan in the middle school, so I knew how to type. So I worked in the principal's office. And besides that, I got to work on different class books from the time I was in the 10th grade through the 12th. Because my middle school was Woodrow Wilson Middle School in Detroit, Michigan. And that went from the 7th through the 9th.
Okay. But as far as art, did you have a mentor or favorite artist?
Hmm. I had so many of them, not personal mentor, but once I was able to, I was selected to take a class with, oh, here I am now with all these names that I can't remember, but he's right now a very famous artist who does a lot of work in shale.
Out of Detroit or where?
Yes, out of Detroit. He actually, I think um, he went to Wayne State. Most of my teachers that I had in junior college went to Wayne State University, but a special one. I had met a lady in Birmingham Bloomfield Art School, which I had decided to go to because I loved pencil work, especially I was doing a lot of pencil work.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that, well, I can't remember her name either. She's a very famous artist now.
Mm-hmm. But she does pencil work, and she's out of Detroit again?
Yes, art. She did ink.
Ink, okay.
Yeah.
Pen and ink?
Yeah, and colored ink.
Mm.
She was very, very good. And I met a lot, most of the artists that were in that school that taught were from Wayne University.
Hmm.
And so I decided after this one teacher that I had there said, "What are you going to do with this?" She said, "You are very talented and you should be pursuing this as a vocation."
Mm-hmm.
And I said I had never thought about it before, but I made up my mind at that time that I was going to further my education in art, and so the only way I could do it would be to go to the Oakland Community College.
Is that the only college you've ever attended then? Oakland Community?
I'm trying to think of, did I?
Well, the Wayne State teachers came to teach there.
Oh, of course, they were all teachers at Wayne State. That
Mhm.
was how they helped their income by teaching there.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken many different courses
Mhm.
at different colleges for short terms.
Okay.
I can't think of where I had these courses, but I know that I had, I'm trying to think of that. My sister and I both went to take the course on how to,
Was that the one you talk about speaking,
yes,
How
it's
to-
public speaking.
public speaking?
Yes, and my sister, I forgot how long it was, probably 8 weeks. And we both enjoyed it very much. It was great.
What other types of classes did you have to take at Oakland University, OCC,
What type of classes?
besides art?
Well, at first I couldn't take art. I had to take all of the natural classes, math and English and all of the regular courses. So
Oh,
I was not able to, well, I think in the first year I could take a basic art class,
oh, okay.
and that I did. And then as I went through the college, I took a lot of different art classes. One that I just loved immensely was the study of art. And, well, anyway, I did not graduate from Oakland College. What do you call that? Middle what did I call it before?
Like a bachelor's degree or?
No, they don't give bachelor's.
Oh,
they
associate's degree?
Associate's degree. And I only had to have,
One more class or two?
I had to have 3 classes, and they were all done at a different school. I couldn't go to the regular university. I had to go to a different school in Oak Park. It was a lab class, and the reason why I had to do that, it was at night. I had to go at night to take my classes, and it was in a very bad part of town. So I just refused to go. I had little children at home, and I didn't want to put my life in danger because of that. So I just
don't
quit.
blame you.
But I only needed like 3, 6, 9 credits, something like that, to go.
And get your degree?
Yes.
Oh.
And why I didn't go back is I just got too busy and could not go and take this silly old science lab class that I was supposed to.
It didn't really make a heck of a difference for what you were doing in your artwork.
Right. It made no sense to me at all to be spending my time, which was very valuable at that time, to take a lab class that I didn't even want to take. So that's what happened. I just, I dropped out, and I'm sorry I did in a way, but.
Oh, I think you did just great, Mom.
Right, it didn't matter, I guess.
Well, what sports have you enjoyed as an adult, like when you met Dad? What sports have you done?
I enjoyed bowling. Bowling was great. But I enjoyed all kinds of sports. I mean, ice skating, roller skating.
I think you did a lot of golfing, too.
Oh, that was later in life when the skating was no longer available to me. So, yes, I played a lot of golf, and that's one game to me that is so wonderful that I feel everyone should do it.
You gave us, at least I know I took ice skating lessons. Tom was a hockey player, and
Yes.
Sally, did she take any skating?
No.
None at all.
She was a dancer. She loved her dancing and music and stuff.
I couldn't do that. I didn't have the coordination, but I did love to skate.
I know, I remember you went skiing several times too.
And skating.
Yeah.
I did like that too. Okay, I'm going to ask you about meeting Dad. Where did you guys meet? How did you meet? Tell me the story, the love story. Like, how did it happen for you?
I had met Jane
Dad.
Hartwick
Okay.
at the telephone company, and so she invited me to come over to her house. I lived in Berkeley, and so did Jane, so it was maybe a mile from each other. But anyway, I went over to her house, and we were sitting on Jane's front step, and the boys were having a basketball game. They played in the street at that time. They put the net up on a telephone pole or something. And I asked Jane who that big tall guy was with her brother, Roy, and he said, "Oh, that's Dave Haack." Or no, they just called him Haack back in those days. He went by the name of Haack. So I said, "Gosh, he's good looking. I think I'd like to marry that guy."
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know, it was just a sudden attraction I had. So evidently, Jane told Roy, and Roy told Haack about what I said. And so he called and asked for a date.
Oh
And
my gosh.
we went horseback riding, was our first date.
Wow, your first date was horseback riding. And did love happen very quick into the relationship?
Probably right away. The,
Mhm.
what as I remember, yes. However, there were lots of ins and outs to that too, because I had been going with another guy. His name was Brian. I can't think of his last name, but they called him Salty, and he was a hockey player.
Ooh.
And um, that was about I'm trying to get the time element right there. Your father went in the service in 50 to 51, I think, yes. And he knew that I was going, I don't, I was going with Brian off and on because he was a friend of mine. You know, I liked
Mhm.
him. That was it. So uh, it was nice dating both guys. And finally, I guess David's dad talked him into joining the service, and Roy too. Roy Hartwick joined at the same time, and they left at the same time together in 50. And so when David left, I spent way more time with Brian,
Mhm.
you know, going to hockey games and stuff like that. And we even skated together. We went down to Belle Isle a lot and skated. That was a wonderful place to skate in the lagoons. Um, mm, I met his mom and dad. They were nice people. Um, and eventually, he decided to join the Air Force. I think this was during the Korean War, and kind of all the guys were joining something.
Mhm.
So he joined the Air Force and was stationed out in Colorado at a airfield out there. But anyway, David spent only about a year in the service because something happened to his knee. I don't know what it was, whether it was the movement of the ship or whether he tripped and wrenched his knee. I don't know what it was, but anyway, he had to have an operation, and this operation took place in Hawaii at, well, it's a famous hospital, but I can't think of the name. So, anyway, he got out in 51, and in the meantime, Brian was still in the Air Force, and he would be in the Air Force. In fact, Brian may have stayed in the Air Force forever. I don't know.
Mhm.
But at this time, David said, "You've got to just go out with me only."
Mhm.
And I said, "Well, I have to have a ring or something. I mean, I can't just be with you and pretend that I'm just yours." So he got me a beautiful ring. Now this ring has a story behind it.
Okay.
He had been out to California because on his way back from Hawaii, he stopped and visited his uncle Larry. No, it wasn't Larry. Anyway, it was Aunt Helen's husband. And he told him that, David told him that he would like to find a ring, get a ring for me. So I'm trying to think of Aunt Helen. Marilyn's husband name, and I can't.
Well, that doesn't matter.
Well, anyway, Uncle whatever found a hot ring.
Oh,
Yes, it was. It was a hot ring.
stolen.
He must have had, yeah, well, he must have had connections
Mhm.
somehow or another. But anyway, I got, I only had a solitaire, one diamond.
Mhm.
And David told me that the other two diamonds he had made into a ring for his mom with a blue stone sapphire in the middle. And I thought, well, that's beautiful, that's wonderful. So anyway, we got married in June of 52,
June what?
14th, Flag Day. And it was a beautiful day. Of course, my dad didn't come to the wedding.
And why was that?
I think, I don't know, but
You had told me
David
one
seemed to-
time
Pardon?
about religion. Was it because Dad was Catholic?
I seem to think that it was because it was Catholic. I don't know for sure.
And
but
what was Grandpa then?
Grandpa was, I don't know,
Baptist or something?
maybe. I don't know that he was anything at that time, but
Oh,
I guess he had a grudge against, I don't know whether it was the Catholics or not. Anyway, he did not come. But my sister and Max and the girls were my flower girls,
which girls were those?
Patty and Connie.
Aw, okay.
And Dorothy Milleron was my bridesmaid, or my maid of honor. I
Mhm.
didn't have a bridesmaid. Father Coughlin was the one that officiated at our wedding, and that was a beautiful thing, especially for David, who just admired Father Coughlin. He was just a great man to my husband, David. So Father Coughlin married us. We had a small reception, very small, at the Botsford Inn following the ceremony. And I'm trying to think of how many people were there. Maybe, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 12, 14, 16, maybe 16, 18 people were there.
Wow.
And, oh, by the way, Walter Westfall was your dad's best man. And Walter Westfall, I ran into him later on in life when he was dean at Orchard Lake, Oakland University. He
Oh.
was the dean there.
Oh.
When I had some questions, and they said, well, you have to see. I just had his name on the tip of my tongue. Anyway,
Walter.
what was it?
Walter.
Yes, Walter. That's his
Okay.
first name. Walter.
So, I know that you had mentioned before that Roy and Betty Hartwick's name was Roy in the wedding, or
No.
because they were friends of yours and Dad's.
Yes. They were invited to the wedding, but they did not come.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
They might have had a previous engagement that day.
I have no idea. Well, Roy was in the Navy. He
Oh.
couldn't be there.
Oh, okay.
But Jane was not there, and it just seemed like there was a time when Jane and I were on the outs for some reason, and I can't remember why,
Okay.
or whether it was during that time or what.
Okay.
But we later made up because we saw one another later.
Okay, so you've got 3 kids, me included, and tell me a little bit about each of your kids and what they mean to you.
Oh my God, that is going to be not difficult for me because they're just so wonderful. I can't tell you how much I love them.
Oh, we all love you too,
Oh,
Mom.
I know. But they have been a source of knowledge for me and just they have made me the person that I am today.
Oh, that's sweet, because you're a wonderful, wonderful woman. Who are they all? Give us our names and a little bit about us.
My firstborn wasn't really my firstborn, you know.
Okay.
My firstborn was Catherine. I carried her full term, but she was dead when she came into this world, so
Sad time for you and Dad.
it was a really tough time, really tough. And of course, I wanted another child, but I was so frightened that maybe it was because I had done something wrong that this baby was dead. I just did not know. But anyway, I did not become pregnant again until 1960.
Had you tried to adopt or anything in between?
Well, we did put our names in once, and I remember the priest that came out to our house. His name was Father Kenny, and he was just so short with me that I didn't care for him at all. He told me that I was in no condition to adopt a child.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So that was bad news for me.
Mhm.
But anyway, your dad and I went on vacation. And the vacation, I mean, it was just a short getaway for a weekend. We went, and the place that we stayed at up north was in the, not Cadillac, but in the middle of the state. And there was a campaign going on for, I think it was governor. And he was at this community where we were, in this bar,
Mhm.
like. So we got to shake his hand and all that, but I became pregnant
After
yeah.
the 10 years?
After 10 years, yes.
Oh my gosh, and that was me.
That was you, honey bunch.
And you named me after, can you tell my name and who I'm named after and all that?
Well, you were named after one of my cousins in Tennessee, Libby. And we called her Libby.
Uh-huh.
She was Aunt Jessie's oldest daughter. And Libby married a man that was in the government, kind of. He was named to some sort of office, but I don't know what it was. But it was in Washington, D.C. Aunt Jessie died, I can't remember when, but anyway, she had 2 other children. Billy, that used to go down to my grandfather's house and ride his horses, and then Patsy, and she was named Patsy Norris, and her claim to fame was that she was the Dr. Pepper girl
Oh.
back in, well, golly, it had to be in the 40s. She was the Dr. Pepper girl.
Oh.
She was a cute. She was younger than I. Billy was older than I. Libby was way older. But anyway, they had a beautiful house. They owned a store. That's what Uncle TJ worked. He had his store. And we would occasionally see Aunt Jessie when she came over to Grandmother Curtin's house. And she would bring the kids with her, and it would be fun for us all. We would have ice cream. We made ice cream in one of those machines where you have to turn it.
Oh, the old-fashioned ice cream maker.
Yeah, and
The salt and the ice.
but it was such fun. We would have like an ice cream social, because these ice cream makers would make like 2 gallons of ice cream
Sure.
at one time.
Sure. So, I'm your first. Elizabeth is my given formal name.
Elizabeth Ann, because I named her after Ann. She was sort of got me through your pregnancy, St. Ann.
Oh,
And then along came Tom. And I was so shocked when I was pregnant again. I thought, oh,
there were 2 years between us.
yeah, by the way, when I was pregnant with you,
Mhm.
that's when your dad decided to go to barber school.
Oh,
So I worked and paid the bills, and your dad went to barber school. And I think it was for 9 or 10 months or something like that.
mhm.
So, and then we just got settled with your dad having his private, his license.
Mhm.
And then I became pregnant again with Tom.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had 2 of us.
Yeah, Thomas Allen. I named him after Thomas, St. Thomas. I'm trying to think. St. Thomas was I'm trying to think of the saint, and I can't think of what he was saint of, but the saint of miracle? No, I don't know. But anyway, his middle name was Allen, and that was after his dad's middle name. And he was such a big boy. I forgot to tell you that Libby was such a big girl, too. She weighed 10 pounds. It was almost 11 pounds.
Wow.
And Tom came in at a high 9 pounds. But when Libby was born, they told me that your dad and I had a conflicting blood problem.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think of what they call that now, but you had to be.
Is it like ABO or something?
It was ABO,
Okay.
an ABO factor.
Uh-huh.
That's the blood factor. And and they told me that if your bilirubin didn't drop, that you would have to stay in the hospital. Well, it did drop, so you could go home with me. And I think I was in for like 3 or 4 days anyway. And Tom, he had the same problem.
Oh, so like he was jaundiced? Is that what happens?
Yes, you're very jaundiced. You look like you had a tan. And,
Well, I still like to tan.
Yeah. And Tom's blood was just a little bit worse than what yours was.
Mhm.
So then I got busy with you kids, and it was wonderful.
Well, I'm sure being a mom was, I know how that is, and it's so special.
Very special. to me, who didn't have a mom, it was very special because I learned so much from other moms, you know, how to be one myself. So,
Yeah.
anyway, then, what was it? 4 years later, Sally. But during that time, I had been sent to the hospital because I fainted. I was at the shrine and I fainted, and I woke up and I was in the hospital. And they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They took all kinds of tests. My left arm was numb, or something with my left arm. And I said, it's nothing. I was carrying my purse on that arm. It's just tired.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, no, this is not right. Anyway, I ended up with a 60% chance of being multiple sclerosis.
Oh.
And they sent me for, I knew nothing about the disease, and of course we didn't have computers back then where you could learn.
Mm-hmm.
They did send me down to a hospital that had multiple sclerosis treatments, or what, you know, they
Mhm.
gave them classes and all that, and
Mhm.
I went. How I got down there, I don't know. I had to have had a car. Oh, I did, because David's mom and dad had given me a car. And so I had a car to make the appointments. But after going down there for about 6 months, I got tired and I said, I'm fine, I don't need this, I feel sorry for all these people here, and you need to spend your time with them, because I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home and never went back.
And you were fine.
Yes, but that was a terrible, terrible scare.
Oh, I bet it was.
Then when I was painting, I don't know. Anyway, we kept our garbage things under the steps in 4303 Elmwood. And one night I went down to put the trash in, and it was sticking up too high, so I put my arm down like that to press it down, and I cut my wrist, slashed it right across.
On what?
An open can lid,
Oh.
a tin can lid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I called David. He was in bed sleeping, because I'm always up late at night, and he was in bed sleeping, and I said, you gotta come, hurry, I'm bleeding to death.
Oh.
He saw that, he couldn't believe it. The blood was squirting out like that. So he got me to the emergency room, and they got me all stitched up and everything, but they wouldn't let me go home until they checked everything out. Like, they thought I was committing suicide, or whatever. They thought I had problems at home, which I didn't have,
geez.
but they wanted to be sure of it.
Mhm.
They had a lady from the police station come in and talk to me, and just all kinds of stuff, just because of an accident. I put my arm down on an open can lid.
Mhm.
So I finally got home from that. Then Sally came into the picture.
When was she born?
She was born October 21st in 1967. She was a lot smaller. She only weighed 8 pounds. She had to stay in the hospital because with each baby, the bilirubin or whatever that is went was going down or up. I don't know which it goes, but anyway, it was getting to the point where the doctor told me that if I had any more, that the baby's blood would probably have to be transferred because they kept Sally in the hospital for 5 days after I went home, and until her bilirubin went up or down, whatever it was.
Mhm.
So I, at that time, said that that was going to be my last child because I didn't want to think of a child having their blood transferred and all of that. It was scary to me as a mother, so, but there were so many funny things and terrible things that went on while you kids were young.
You probably never even expected you'd have 3 kids after you tried for 10 years and then
I
we
know.
all came along.
Yeah, I know, that was really something.
As our family was growing up, we took some vacations. Where did we normally take a vacation?
At Stony Lake,
And where was that?
Michigan.
Uh-huh.
right on the shores of Lake Michigan.
Mhm.
And we rented a cottage once. The first time we learned about the place from Herman and Mary Ellen, and there was a cottage in front of them that was going to be available. So we signed up for it, and Roy Harwick and their daughter Patty came with us. There was plenty of bedrooms, so no problem there. And we had such fun, and we wanted to go back the next year. We only stayed a week that first time. So the next week we went, and I think we stayed 2 weeks then. I think after that it was always 2 weeks. But it was always a fun time because Mary Ellen and Herman were in one cottage, and we knew other people in the other cottages. I can't think of who they were now, but we all had fun together.
Didn't
Fine.
we even see the first Man on the Moon from Stony Lake? We watched a black and white TV there in that cottage, and in the first Man on the Moon, I think that's where we saw it. We were at Stony Lake in that one beautiful cabin.
I don't know, honey. I can't remember. It just seems to me that I remember on Elmwood that I was in your bedroom, yours and Sally's bedroom, and I heard something about the Man on the Moon.
Oh, I could be wrong too. Maybe it was just a video clip of it.
I don't remember.
Okay. And then we had a big family vacation that I'm sure Dad saved for a long time. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was our California trip, and we were planning a vacation. I said, David, you know, I once heard about people that rented a car. They didn't rent the car, they just drove the car out to California for someone. I said, can you find somebody that could, that would know about that? And he said, yeah, I'll look it up. So he did find this person that said, yeah, take this Cadillac out to California. It was a beautiful car. So we all piled in the Cadillac and took off for California. And what a trip that was. I just remember Libby now on the side of the road, putting on her lotion, her sun lotion.
Well, why were we on the side of a road?
Because we'd had a flat tire, and your dad and Tom had left to go find a phone to call for service, AAA.
So I was not letting any rays get by me. I need to tan on the side of the road?
you were getting your suntan lotion because we were there. We weren't going anywhere because we had a flat tire, and Sally was in the car and I was in the car with her. But you were out putting on your lotion and the cars were speeding by. It was like an expressway. So, and then when Tom and your dad got back, we found out that they had gone to this place out in the middle of nowhere. Uh, it was like a bikers club or something, and
Oh, man.
they, David said, we're only here to call somebody, can we use your phone? And they had the phone out on the chair. He said, yeah, go ahead, but don't take long, so David called and they got the AAA, but this was a real,
Rough bar.
rough looking guy.
Oh my
And
gosh.
your dad and Tom were, feeling uneasy about the whole thing. So anyway, David made the call and they came back, and pretty soon the cops came and helped us out, and then AAA came and they helped us out. So we were on our way, but we had to stop and get new tires, or a new tire, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that was at some little city. I think it was in California, I'm not sure whether it was California or not. We were on mountains, I remember that, because I said, I can't drive this. And fortunately, it was good, because that's when your dad took over the car, driving, and that's when we had a flat tire.
Well, somebody's looking out for us, I guess.
I know, because I don't know what I would have done on the edge of that hill if I had been driving, so thank goodness he was driving.
Well, what places did we visit on that trip?
My goodness, when we turned the car in, it was at Los Angeles.
Didn't we go to San Francisco?
Oh, we
and-
went there later, but we were in, we went to Hearst Castle. Oh,
that was
that's
fun.
further up though. We went to LA first, and we went to Universal City,
Mhm.
and that was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of what movie was big back then. Was it Jaws?
Mhm.
Was it?
Wasn't that it? Yeah, yeah, you're right. And didn't we go to Disney World too? Disneyland.
Yes, you went to Disneyland too. I didn't think that was too exceptional, except the Space World ride or something, and that was good. But other than that, it was a lot of walking, and but it was nice to see.
Mhm. And we went to, later on, I remember, I think one of my favorite things was when we went to Alcatraz Island in San Francisco.
Yeah, right. We took a trip over to Alcatraz to see what was going on. Well, of course, it was not being used for a prison any longer, but we were able to take a tour of the place, and it was very interesting, I think. All the stories that the guys were telling us about the place, so that was interesting. And then in San Francisco, we went to Chinatown. Did you kids go to Chinatown with us?
I think so.
Yeah.
I
think
kind of
so.
remember that.
You don't?
I kind of do.
Yes. So, I mean, it was real Chinese in there too, as I recall. Very
Oh, yeah.
Chinatown. And then, I know that you were left in the hotel for a period of time, but I don't know why. I don't know that we were gone for a certain period of time, but you were in charge.
Okay.
I think you were, what, 14 maybe?
Yeah, that's old enough.
No, we just finished with San Francisco. That was when we were traveling up to San Francisco. The next time I was in that area was when your dad and I moved to Florida, and I wanted to take a trip around the upper part of the states, all the way around, down California, into New Mexico, and into Texas, and over to Florida. That was our trip to Florida.
Oh,
That, in fact, we came to see you when you were in, was it in Fort McKinley or
oh, you're talking about, oh, that was in Illinois. Why can't I think? Now, I'm,
was that the time, or was it when you were in your other house?
it might have been Lake Geneva, or it could have been, when we were staying in that old 100-year-old home in McHenry, Illinois.
Yeah. Sally was with us then, right, when we were at McHenry.
No, Sally came to, well, actually, she did come to McHenry, but I think she was there with you in Lake Geneva at that house. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, anyway, we stopped to see you and the baby, Natalie. And where was Paul? Was Paul home? No,
I don't remember.
no, he wasn't usually at home.
No.
So that's our trip to Florida, and that was in the top of the 80s sometime, I don't know when.
Okay.
But anyway, from that trip along the top of all of those, North Dakota, Montana, and Idaho, and Washington, Oregon, well, that's where I got that spider bite that swelled my hand up. And that was at, remember that I had that dam on? We had played golf around that dam. There was a golf course, and we had played golf. It was like a sandy course, and I had my bag with me, and when I picked it up, put it in the car, I didn't think anything about it, but my pillow was in the car.
Uh-huh.
So that night when we got in the hotel, I took the pillow to sleep on, my head. And during the night, I remember something landed on my hand, and I did that, and I hit my hand against the headboard. And it didn't kill it, but it hurt, whatever it was, it hurt my hand. But I just thought, oh well, it's a bug bite. So the next morning I woke up and my arm was swelled all the way up to here, in here, and it had to have been, we don't know what it was because we couldn't find it, but the doctor thought it was brown recluse spider bite because of the reaction from it. So they gave me these big pills to take, about 6 of them, and told me I'd be fine, and so I did. But we went through some beautiful, beautiful scenery in Washington and Oregon. In fact, in Washington, we couldn't even find a doctor's office open. This was on July 4th.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go down into Oregon to get a doctor's office to fix up my recluse spider bite. So, but I couldn't believe some of the scenery up there. Just gorgeous. Mainly in Washington. So that's where we went, and actually, it was like a big barn, but the ladies were dressed to the T. This was in Texas, and the men had on their boots and their hats, and it was really quite a different feeling for us who had never been in that sort of a crowd before.
And that was Hearst, that was at Hearst's?
No, that was in Amarillo.
Oh, Amarillo, okay.
Yeah, so then we went through Mississippi, Louisiana. Did we stop? Yes, we went through New Orleans, of course. We had a not a train ride, but a cruise, not a, what do you call it, a tour. We had a tour of the city. And we stayed in New Orleans that night. Then we went through, trying to think of the Missouri, Alabama, and Florida. Finally got there.
Okay, and that's when you're moved to Florida.
That was our move to Florida. That was actually our first, when we got there, we visited my sister, and she let us use her trailer in the trailer park so we could go find a place to live. And then we could go home and get our stuff and come back,
Oh, nice.
which we did.
Perfect.
Yeah, we found a place over in the Meadows, which was it was
What
special.
city was that?
The Meadows.
What city though?
That was in Sarasota.
Sarasota.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just ask you to tell us about your grandchildren. How many do you have?
I have 4,
Okay, and
3 girls
Who are
and
they?
a boy. Pardon?
and who are they? Your grandchildren? Sally has
Oh.
2.
Well, I was going to start with the oldest. and
Oh,
the youngest.
okay.
Okay.
Sure.
That's Natalie. What is her last name, honey?
Veter, because she just got
Vita,
married.
That's right.
So, but it was Natalie Pecha, my daughter.
Yes, and she is a nurse in this fabulous hospital that has her as a operating room nurse. She's doing quite well, and I'm so proud of her. And I have Nathan, my only grandson, and he's studying to be an optometrist.
Yep.
And he's doing quite well too. He's a wonderful guy, and I love him so. He calls me every once in a while just to see how I'm doing, and I love his calls. Now my next grandchild, which was sometime later in life, but it's Madeline, and she was born in 2000, I believe. Yeah, because she's 17. She was born in 2000. And then, of course, my other one is Vivian Grace. And Grace, of course, is one of my friends' name. Not that she was named after her, but I love the name Grace.
Because
for
she was
her.
your best friend, right?
Yes, she was. So, she was born in 2002, I guess.
Mhm.
They're wonderful kids. They all do well in school, and I'm so proud of every one of them. They are so special in their individual fields. They're very special.
Okay, well, that's really, they all love you very, very much. I'm just going to ask you in closing, is there anything that you want to say or any advice you have for us to live by?
Any advice to what?
Well, is there anything you just want to say to us, kids and grandchildren? And then, is there any advice you have for us?
Oh. No, I was hoping I'd get some from you guys, but
No.
since that's not going to work out, no, I just think my children are all just the greatest in the world, and I love them, and my godchildren, my grandchildren the same, and I wish them all the happiness in the world forever.
Well, thank you, Mom. We all love you.
Well, it's been such a pleasure growing up with you.